Hey guys, you probably know me better for the deck meta reviews, that sort of thing for deck lists. So in the past, my qualifier play-in videos haven't performed terribly well. So these are for the people in the community who really enjoy Magic the Gathering and like watching me draft. So this is the second attempt on the qualifier play-in. I do think it's one of my favorite formats to play with the play-in points. And I think it's a pretty good way to convert your plan points at the end of the each season into some gems, so that you can then use those gems to continue drafting and all that sort of fun stuff. And if you get like 2 wins, it's like a free draft. You get 3 wins, it keeps going. So we got Arden, we got Summon Primal Odin, and we got Nibelheim of Flame. Those are all really good. Last time I played, I got Arden too, so that was fun. So again, going really quickly, you can pause through these if you want to kind of like nerd out over the pool. Basically, I ended up in black white, but it was a little bit creature light. I had to run 3 of the 4 airs, which are terrible, right? The 3/2 for 3. It wasn't quite there. I had another pool that just felt a little bit color split, but I didn't have what I like wanted to do for towns. So yeah, these Q-Trub why can't I say that? Foyers. um, they're not particularly good, especially if you're starting them out on turn 3. It's just a 3/2 for 3, right? But I feel like I needed some sort of creature density because I had 2 final days, and didn't really feel like I was playing anything, like missing anything. Let me know in the comments below if you think there's something that I should have been playing. I decided not to play the black crystal or the dark crystal or whatever it's called, because it exiles, which doesn't work as well with Arden. But turn 2 Dragoon's Lance here is particularly nice. And Phoenix Down can exile zombies, so playing my 3-drop here against the Phoenix Down feels pretty bad. But we can kind of go wide with the rescue mission, and then you're not alone for a pump spell. Can't really do much else because we're missing the second black for the final days. So opponent has 2 mana up. They could pop the Phoenix Down here to get rid of my 3/2. And they do not, so they just decide to pass. I'm not really sending the Castle Guard, though, because I've got all these 1/1s that they don't really want to trade with. And I don't really want to send the 3/2 in, I guess, to trade against the Dwarven Castle Guard. I could. I kind of want them to pop the Phoenix Down to get to trade the 3/2. So decide to attack here and hope that I can get them to trade a 1/1 for the 2/1. If they just take the damage here, I think that's... I could see pros and cons either way, right? They probably... Because, like, if they do this trade, they get, like, a 1/1. If they pop the Phoenix Down, they can bring it back. But then my 3/2 isn't at risk of being exiled. So here we can kind of make them make that choice by going to exile their graveyard. I think if I was them, I'd just let the Castle Guard go and use the Phoenix Down to kill one of the 3/2s. But I guess you can kill the 3/2 with the 2/1, and then you get a 1/1 out of it. And they play out a 2/2 flash. They could have played the 2/2 flash to eat a 1/1. A little surprised they didn't do that. They would have then lost their 2/2 to the because I'd do that instead of exiling the Castle Guard. And we can't find the second swamp. And I don't really have much to do here, so I can just kind of move the Dragoon's Lance to hit in for additional damage. Seems good enough to me. And we could play this more aggressively, we could swing in more. I just decided that this seemed fine. We've got a bunch of chump blockers and we can eventually win in the air. And they're not doing a whole lot here, right? So I guess they top decked the Sephiroth's intervention. But they've got to figure out a way to deal with this Lance or they're just in trouble. 2 life off of the intervention made it so that I no longer have the You're Not Alone for lethal. But they can't really attack into me either, which has been nice. I probably should have attacked first before playing the final days. But I was thinking having more creatures on the board might be nice if they go for something like the deal damage equal to the number of creatures you have. So and for whatever reason in my brain, I thought Dragoon's Lance was an equipped 5. So I didn't think that I could equip the Lance and play the final days here, even though I hovered over the Dragoon's Lance. So I end up going for the one that costs 6, because in my mind I was like, that's might as well do that one over the other one. It's like I wanted to sit there awkwardly not having enough mana. So I just missed 3 damage. Which plus the You're Not Alone would have been lethal. So I definitely should have done that. We draw Arden, not able to cast it though. This is where I'm going to figure out that I can do Dragoon's Lance still. So I was thinking I had to choose between doing the final days or playing the Dragoon's Lance. And that's why I attack without equipping the Dragoon's Lance. So definitely already starting off with some misplays, you know, that's always a good vibe. Opponent, I think, here is deciding whether or not to multiple block with Moogle. And trading all these bodies, putting my opponent to 9, like, I'd rather have just attacked in the air for 3 damage. And that's where I realized my mistake was when I could still equip the Lance. I was like, oops. Probably should have thrown it on a 1/1, but kind of wanted to get the 2/2s, like the 3/2 airborne. Yeah, I keep playing these out before, like, pre-combat, and probably could just swing. So if they don't have anything here, we do have lethal with the You're Not Alone, and it passed really quickly, so we could have probably swung out there and won with You're Not Alone, but I was just trying to play around them having interaction. And now they've got 3 cards left. We've got a pretty wide board, especially with flashing in the White Heart. So we get to win without even playing the Arden, which always feels good. Slash of Light for 10 ought to do it. Move one of their blockers. And that's where those final days really come in handy. We don't even need to use the You're Not Alone. So it's a pretty easy first game. Nothing really coming from our opponent that we had to play around. No crazy bombs or anything like that. Second game here, we've got White Heart on 2, and then we have Primal Odin and Arden in hand. So as long as we draw lands, this hand will be amazing. Opponent starts off with a red tap land. We draw the Ahriman, which we can then play on turn 3, which is nice. And we draw the second black, which is really great. Whiteheart has flash, so we can bring it in here to block the blazing bomb. Opponent plays a Blitzball. Generally, when you're playing a Mana Rock, you don't want to play it on turn 3, because you'd rather wait to play it on a turn where you can immediately tap it for mana. That way it kind of reduces its cost. And you also want to be playing creatures to the board on turn 2 and turn 3, ideally. They do have 1 mana untapped here, so I probably should attack first and then play the Ahriman. But this is looking like a pretty disgusting hand. We have land 5. Next turn we're doing Final Days. Opponent plays the Regalia, which is a 4/4 vehicle. I decide to play the third Swamp because we do need it for Arden. And this is the downside to playing a Mana Rock into a vehicle, is they haven't developed the board here. And they're at 12 life, and I have 8/8 worth of power on 4 bodies. It's going to be hard for them to come back from this spot. And they play Edgar, King of Figaro. 4/5, drawing 2 cards off the Regalia and the Blitzball. And instead of holding back here to block, they swing at me, which I think is crazy. Because they're just agreeing to go to 4 against a board that's already super wide. Now, I didn't hit a good play here, but still, I guess if they had held back, we would have been able to slash something, but it would have been at least a 2-for-1. And they'd be at 5. And they play a Monk's Fist. We have back-to-back removals, so things are looking kind of thin for them. And I actually have to discard Arden here, which is kind of fun to have it both games and then not really have it come into play, because you know it is an 8-drop. But Final Fantasy's I found it to be a slower set. There's a lot of games that come down to late turns. So removing the Marlboro here, even though they don't know I have the Primal Odin, like they're dead from just that. Two threats are getting through no matter what next turn, so they're just dead on board. All right, and so that was the 1 draft secured. And now from this point on, each win gets me a draft for free. Or I should say a buy-in. So you get some things back from a draft anyway. So here we have a turn 3 Ahriman. I found turn 3 to be okay in this set when you're on the play. It's a little bit less forgiving when you're on the draw and you're starting on turn 3. But my pool didn't have a whole lot of 2-drops anyway. So they play the Sahagin, which has been a really good common. A little bit disappointed that they played that. I probably should have done a threat in here and attacked with the Zac. I just didn't want to cast the You're Not Alone if they did block, and I guess I wouldn't have to. We could just let them bounce off of each other. because the Sahagin can't attack into the 2/2 Death Toucher anyway. So I probably missed 1 damage there on a threaten. And then this is a tricky spot. There's so many different things that we could do. We could do Slash of Light to remove the Wyvern. We could do Heck Dies with the Slash of Light. We could just play the Final Days. They probably won't block the Ahriman with Zach Fair being there, because then we get a 3/3. So like I could attack with the Ahriman. So if I'm gonna play the Final Days, I should play the Final Days after I attack with the Ahriman. And if I want to kill the Sahagin, I should play the Heck Dies first and then Slash of Light the Sahagin. But again, I probably should do that after I attack with the Ahriman. And they thought about blocking there, but then they decided just to let it through, which I think is the right move, to just let it go. And then I think about what's the pros versus, like, pros and cons of shooting the Sahagin now, because they're about to have 4 mana. And I think you should always just play it as an instant, just to see what they play. If they play something that deserves to die more than the Sahagin. And Brynhildr can be a problem. A lot of times I've found it to be kind of not necessary to deal with. So I'm not sure about this next play, but I decide to Slash of Light the Sahagin, if I remember correctly. Which I have had problems with that card. And I think I should do it right now while they're tapped out, instead of letting them draw. Because if I'm going to go for the Slash of Light and they have a shock, they could save their dude and get a 2-for-1 here. They had, like, the Thunder Magic. So I don't like how I played that. I don't like the way I sequenced that. Here I just decide to, like, swing it, see how they block. Because I would definitely trade Zach for the Brynhildr. And then this makes it so that You're Not Alone is likely to give a +4/+4, which is pretty nice. And the downside to not killing the Brynhildr is that they have the value off of the eject. So I'm surprised they didn't actually go to eject a token there. I guess they wanted to hit the land. And then I get the Fate of the Suncrest, and looking at this board, I decide that the Brynhildr's probably worth killing here, and we can leave up 1 white for either the You're Not Alone or the Zach Fair activation. And this way they don't get that eject value, which is why I think they should have played it last turn instead of the Call of the Chocobo. And I think I'm okay trading for a 2/2 here instead of using the You're Not Alone. Because, like, just keeping a 2/2... I don't know, I think pushing the 4 damage, like, I could see saving the 2/2. It depends on what they play here, right? Like, if they just drop a land and for 6 do a 2/2 off of the Call of the Mountain Chocobo, might have been worth doing. But I was kind of thinking I could push some damage here, and then if I hit the land, I'd be able to do the side quest. So I decided to attack with Zach Fair, trading it for the Ice Flawn if they block. I was a little surprised they actually blocked there. But I figured if they didn't block, then we could at least play it and get rid of their value off of the Chocobo. And now we're just hoping to draw lands, which is a good place to be in. So we hit the land. Should swing first. They didn't play the Call of the Mountain Chocobo, so they have something. And they play Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum, which is fine. And so we can get rid of the Dragoon's Wyvern here. I don't think they haven't presented a better target. And they were holding on to a Syncopate. So, not great for us. But also, opponent is still in a losing battle if they just keep taking the 2 damage. So then that slightly puts them ahead on the clock. And they play Astrologian's Planisphere, which I was a little bit bummed to see for sure. Then we hit land 6, which is pretty cool. So being able to get the final days off is pretty excellent here. Because right now we're poised to put them at 1, and that's if they don't attack. So here I can tap the Dragoon's Wyvern. I could also just tap the Astrologian's Planisphere. But I decided I guess I wanted to force the chump as opposed to trade. And then see if they have a spell. Because if they have a spell, they'd be able to trade with the 2/2 and pump it up. But they did not. They go to 1. And we got him. So, you know, that's a pretty good start right there. You know, I like a little 3-0 start. Haven't really fought anybody whose deck was just amazing yet, though. And I've definitely made some mistakes. So that's why I like reviewing these, though. It's a way to kind of learn from your previous games. So we're on the draw here, and we have the 3-drop. It's definitely not ideal, but my mouse has also been dying, so if you see the mouse kind of like glitch over, that's why. So we've got the White Heart. We could trade the White Heart for the Black Mage's Rod. I decide not to, because we want to keep our board as much as we can if we have Slash of Light. So no reason to bounce anything. And then we've got the Ahriman. Attacking there might have been better to hold back the Paladin's Arms. To block it. Certainly should have at least played the land to hit for another damage. And they play the White Auracite. And we take 5, going to 11. So then we've got 4 lands. I'm continuing to swing and play out the 3/1/1s. I do think the rescue mission is interesting. Like, we've had the 3/1/1s for 3 in the past, and it's been really good. For 4, I think it's okay. So here I decide to, you know, if they want to do a combat trick to get tokens, I'm fine with that. And they played the Namazu Trader. And we hit land 5. So do I want to play out Sir Conrad? Do I want to play out the side quest? Do I want to play out the Kutrub and do Slash? So it's 1 shy on the Trader. So I just decided to play the side quest and remove the Trader. And then I think I'm okay with either one of these trades. So my thoughts were that we're looking pretty good here. Depends on what they played this turn. And a 6-drop is definitely not great. And I decided to ditch the Q-Trub. It's not a particularly good card anyway. And then I play out Sir Conrad. May have been right to keep the Q-Trub there because They would have had to block the 1/1, which they never would have, right? But the problem here is that the side quest doesn't trigger when things die on my opponent's turn, so I was kind of hoping that I didn't have to block with Sir Conrad. But I probably should block here with Sir Conrad. I was kind of thinking like I can block it with the 1/1 and then hit them for 5 and maybe win a little bit of a race, but I think it's pretty thin. So could slash a light here and just attack with the 5/4. Would give me the second treasure trigger. Because if I wait till my end turn, my end step here, then I definitely should have just traded the Malboro. And Sephiroth's intervention is pretty painful. Means that if I had gone for the Slash of Light, they would have 2-for-1 to me. Here I'm just using Conrad's ability to dig for some just ping damage. Don't find it though. And I don't really want to pop my other treasure because it's my third black for Arden. Which, if we top decked Arden, I'm not sure it would even save us at this point, right? So here is an easy block, clearly. Armand is going to be a problem since they can equip it. But we're not dead yet. But having to chump block with the 3/2 just doesn't feel very good. Alright, we go to 1. I think the equip cost on the White Mage's staff is 3. If it's 2, they just missed lethal. Yeah, it's tough. And we draw the Arden. Oh man, it was just a turn too slow. Our opponent doesn't have any creatures in the graveyard, so I have to attack because they have the flyer. And then we're just dead on board. Unless for some reason they don't do anything this turn. But even if they equipped the White Mage's staff to the Heck dies, we were hosed, so. They decided not to swing at all. That one didn't feel too bad. I don't feel like I made any just like blatant misplays or that one. Other than the ones I mentioned, but I don't think they were like game changing. So we're on the play. We have Dragoon's Lance and we have Whiteheart, which is pretty sweet. One plays Mountain. I decided to play out the Dragoon's Lance because if they have removal, then I can play the Whiteheart and grab the Lance back. So they have Lightning Bolt, kill my token, play Monk's Fist, and I decide to play a Plains and hold up the Whiteheart. Playing the Plains out in case I need to use the You're Not Alone. But I don't think I want to play the Whiteheart out and block the Monk's Fist and do the You're Not Alone. So we can bounce back the Dragoon's Lance, which is nice. Hit land 4. And then slash is kind of awkward here because we can't target the Paladin's arms. Decided to attack with my 3/2 and offer the trade. And no real reason to use the You're Not Alone unless I can get it to 4. And since we're 2 lands away from Malboro, we could cycle it as well. And they play Summon Pridal Garuda. They blow up my White Heart. Before it resolves, though, I'm going to shoot the Primal Garuda before we lose the creature count. And we're kind of in trouble. We miss land 5. I decided to cycle the Malboro to bring tapping 2 swamps so that I can keep up double white. And then I decide to attack here. That's probably a bit on the bold side. But I was thinking, you know, my 2/2 can trade with the 3/2 pretty cleanly. And I might still be able to actually race with the Dragoon's Lance. So they come in, attack with the 3/2. I just let it go. Attacking with the 4 mana. I was a little bit worried that they'd get a 2-for-1 if I went for the You're Not Alone. I do have removal with the Fate of the Sun Crest on whatever they play. And they play the Warrior's Sword. And here I'm a little bit sad that we don't have one more piece to the puzzle. But right now what I can do is I can Fate of the Sun Crest the Warrior's Sword if it attacks, and then I've got Slash for the Monk's Fist. They play Weapons Vendor, which is something that dies to the Slash of Light. I want to do that before they get the free equipped on the Paladin's arms. And they do swing. So that was decent. You know, we're able to answer some of their board, but now that I'm down to 1 card, it's feeling like I've kind of, you know, lost at this point. And we can't really hold back with the... I guess if they go to pop the Blazing Bomb, then we can use the You're Not Alone. But it's definitely not great. I play another Weapons Vendor. Back-to-back Weapons Vendors with the equipment is kind of rough. So they equip over here on a 5/3. If I do the You're Not Alone, I can trade my token. And then we need to hit something that kind of negates this whole strategy that they have. And this next draw is actually kind of close to doing just that. So I hit the Primal Odin, and I shoot the Weapon Vendor thinking it would be bad for them to equip more freely. I think I should have shot the Blazing Bomb. And I realized that right after I did it, because they can equip and sacrifice the bomb to kill Primal Odin, whereas if I hadn't done that and they don't have removal, I could Dragoon's Lance on the Primal Odin and hit them if they don't have a flyer. But they had the suplex anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I would have taken a lot more damage if I had gone the other route. But it would have been, I think, a better line than killing the Weapon Master, even though they would have gotten the free equip out of it. So, better luck next time. Thanks for watching. I think it was, you know, it's fun to have Arden back-to-back games. That was always fun. And definitely made some mistakes. Definitely didn't play it perfectly. Magic's hard. But 3,000 gems, like, I'll take it. It's a pretty good payout, payback for just playing Magic the Gathering. So, hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you like this sort of thing. Always curious to hear your guys' feedback. Um, I know I kind of skipped over the sealed pool and the build. Maybe I should be including more of that. Let me know. Be happy to include it if that's what you want to see. And probably, let's see, this will be coming out on. How does this work? This is going to be coming out on Wednesday. I don't remember how this is going to be scheduled on YouTube, but Friday will be the pre-release video for Edge of Eternities, and there might be a gameplay video in between, or before Friday. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.